In 2019, our next guest fled communist Cuba for the United States. But when he got here, he was shocked by how many young Americans embraced socialism. And now he's working to dismantle the socialist deception. Justo Antonio Triana joins us now.
Well, I think that they are very confused about the idea of how is life in Cuba and how does that work, and they think that because there is free healthcare and free education, like life is easy and happy, but in reality, that's not true. And we pay dearly for those things. We pay with our freedom. We pay with our human rights. Don't have any opportunity to have a life with dignity and basic human rights.
So Fox News had somebody on their show the other day from Cuba who immigrated to the United States and was talking about all the evil human rights abuses and how terrible socialism is under Cuba. But one of the things that's important to understand when right-wingers do this is that Cuba is a democracy, and they actually just redid their constitution a couple of years ago, and the overwhelming majority of people in Cuba support the government and the socialist system. Now, why is this important to remember? A lot of Americans tend to forget that every country is going to have the Alex Jones types that we have here in the United States. We're not magical or unique, and believe it or not, every country in the world is not some sort of monolith. There are different people with different opinions. And now Cuba is a democracy, and there are some people who are unhappy with the results of that democracy. We also need to understand that the United States, through the National Endowment for Democracy, actually spends quite a bit of money putting conspiracy theories into Cuba over the radio and any methods that they can get their hand on. In fact, the United States very infamously tried to set up a social media app inside of Cuba and use it to spread propaganda. Now, the results of that propaganda has led to a handful of, once again, Alex Jones types who believe ridiculous conspiracy theories about the Cuban government, like the conspiracy that the president is hoarding bags of blood that are used for transfusions and stuff like that. Why would they do that? That doesn't make any sense. President Diaz-Canel of Cuba just looking to have some extra blood for no reason? It's a ridiculous conspiracy theory and it doesn't make any sense. Now, why is there a shortage of blood bags in Cuba? Well, that's because of sanctions from the United States and the United States actively trying to intercept shipments to Cuba from other countries by making ridiculous claims about, oh, we thought that there were weapons or something, as the United States often does when things get shipped to Cuba or Venezuela or other countries like that. And so as a result, Cuba deals with shortages, which is what the overwhelming majority of people in Cuba know and understand. But these Republicans depend on just these handful of right-wing grifters that exist inside of Cuba to come to the United States and tell people how bad socialism is, as though they're the only person that is an authority on Cuba. And then let's talk about the human rights violations. These are really simple and something to understand. When organizations like Fox News talk about human rights, usually they use the understanding of human rights that the Victims of Communism Foundation uses, which, and you won't believe this, they consider private property to be the most important right. And everything else is sort of secondary to that. You'll also hear things about freedom of speech, etc., etc. And to be fair, Cuba does have restrictions on free speech. You're allowed to criticize the government, but you're not allowed to oppose the revolutionary system. And the reason for that, we need to understand, is because the United States has tried to stage coups inside of Cuba, and Cuba putting restrictions on people's free speech is a direct response to the United States trying to start insurrectionist movements. They are the laws that Cuba uses to try and keep the CIA and other foreign actors out of their domestic politics. You can say that you wouldn't want to have those restrictions on your press, but understand that the United States simply does not have to deal with the same level of threat coming to it that Cuba does. Because, of course, the United States is the source of those threats. There's no country in the world that has meddled in other people's elections more than the United States. So if you support free speech in other countries, what you really need to do is support abolishing the CIA, because they're the reason why other countries have to put in place these measures in order to prevent the United States from interfering in their domestic politics and starting up insurrectionist movements.
This is Ben Carollo with Rebel Headquarters. You can catch my show Galaxy Brain on the Young Turks Twitch channel every Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. If you want to stay up to date with my content, you can follow me at Benjamin Carollo on Twitter. And for those of you that might be wondering or have noticed, my pronouns are in fact she, her.